Hello, you're watching Ellie from Elementary Paper Crafting. I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator here in the UK. And today I'm going to bring you a project using our lovely Celebrate Sunflowers stamp set. I'm also going to incorporate the lovely stitched nested labels dies, and these come in a variety of sizes, as you'll see here. And today I'm using the largest die and the next one down. I'm also going to be using one of our stencils, and we have 8 available at the moment, and you will find those in our new annual catalogue. So let's get started. So first of all, let's make myself a little space. So I've started off with what we in Britain call an A6 size card, and this is a piece of A4 card, which is the standard issue of Stampin' Up cardstock, and I cut it in half and then fold that down the middle. So my card measures about 5 3/4 by 4 1/4 inches. Now the first thing I'm going to do is use my stencil just to make a very light background on this card base. I'm going to use our old olive stamp pad and a blending brush. Now Stampin' Up have recently issued some beautiful blending brushes, which are the same shape as this, smaller, and they are much better. However, I'd already invested in some blended brushes, so I feel at this point I don't really need to buy any more. But the Stampin' Up ones are very, very good quality, and had I not already bought these, they would have been in my collection by now. I'm going to bring on a piece of scrap paper. Not sure how to do this. I'm sorry about the mess here, but you'll see why I need this. So I'm going to just place the stencil here, and I chose this one because in line with the Celebrate Sunflowers, I thought this actually lent itself quite nicely to the shape of the leaf, and that's why I chose this one. So to use a blending brush, you simply load up the brush with the colour from the ink pad, generously stroke it backwards and backwards along the surface. Excuse me. Now just dab off the excess onto your scrap paper, so that when you bring it onto your card, it just brings on a very light colouring. If I just lift that up, you can see. Now I don't need this all over because I'm going to use something in the middle of my card. I just want something around the edges, and I don't want it to be very, very obvious. So I'm really only just touching the surface of this card with a very light brushing. And I don't even mind if it doesn't even show up in some places, because I think that just adds to it. And that's all I need to do. Now I have a bowl of warm water behind me, and I just drop this into that bowl so that I know next time I come to use that, I won't find it in the drawer dirty and then get my hands dirty when I take it out. So I'm just going to remove my piece of messy paper and pop that away. So ahead of time, I've just done a little bit of preparation, and that preparation was using the largest of those dies. And actually, I'm sorry, I did say I used the smaller one as well. I actually didn't. I had intended to, but I changed my mind as I worked my way through the project. So I've just used this one. But what I did was I used a piece of crumb cake cardstock and I've run it through an embossing folder to give this some nice texture. So I hope you can see that there. It's unfortunately this embossing folder has been retired, but I'll just show you where I took it from. So last year we had on our celebration offer, we had this Power of Hope stamp set, and it came with this beautiful embossing folder, and it comes out like sort of crazy paving, and it's just been such an absolute favourite of mine that I still use it. But we have lots of embossing folders, and you will find another one that will match perfectly with this project, but I just like this one. So after I'd embossed it, I cut it out first and then embossed it, and it's important to do it in that order. If you emboss it first and then cut it out with the die, when you pass it through your machine again to do the cutting, you can flatten this pattern. So always cut first and emboss second. So once I'd done that, I actually used some of our foam adhesive sheets, and they can be found on page 167 of our new annual catalogue, which is this one. And if you want to have a look inside this, if you go over to my Facebook page, which is also Elementary Paper Crafting, you'll see I do a catalogue walkthrough there. So using that adhesive sheet, I then cut out another piece with this die, and I've stuck that onto the back of here, and that gives us this little bit of dimension. So it's very much like using the Stampin' Up! Dimensionals, which are these, but these are very small, and to put them on the back of that would take a lot of them. So using that foam adhesive sheet is a much better method for a large item like this. So being adhesive sheets, on the back you will find it peels away to reveal a sticky pad, which you can then place directly onto your work. So mine's on my card base, and that's very, very secure. So that's given us a nice bit of dimension on our card to begin with. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take some of the stamps from the stamp set, and the ones I'm using are the smaller sunflower, the large leaf, and the two small ones. And I'm going to use this sentiment, thanks a bunch. I think that fits beautifully with this, because you think of a bunch of flowers, and of course the sunflowers would be absolutely beautiful, you know, in a bunch. So I'm going to use, I've got some scraps of Whisper White cardstock here, and that's what I use when I'm stamping to cut out. So I'm going to stamp this in Bumblebee, and that was one of last year's in colours. I absolutely loved last year's in colours, and I'm glad that they are going to be around for another year. So I'm just going to stamp that down. When you're stamping, just make contact with the card, leave it there for just a second or two, and bring it up, and you get a beautiful clean stamped image. It's very tempting to press down hard on the stamp to make sure you get good coverage, but you really don't need to do that. You just need to press down once and then leave it for the ink to transfer. Now, while I've got that stamp pad out, I'm also going to stamp my greeting, and I've got a very small piece of white, basic white cardstock here, which I've cut beforehand just to save a little bit of time here. And I'm simply going to do the same thing again, just touch down with the stamp. I'm not pressing, I'm just using the weight of the stamp really, and just give it time for the ink to transfer, and there you have it. Now there is a tiny little smudge there because I let go of it too soon, but I'm not going to worry about that because I do have one of those mono erasers, and I'll be able to just take that little bit out before I actually send this card. So I like to use my tweezers to pick up small things like this, and I've cut a very small piece of bumblebee cardstock, just a tiny bit larger than this greeting, and I'm just mounting it on top, and that gives me a nice border to go round my greeting to go on the card. Now that mono eraser, I'll just demonstrate. You don't need to press hard. It's a sand eraser, and so if you just work it over that little bit of ink that's caused the smudge, it will come off. As I say, I'm not pressing hard, I'm just going back and forward over that just to remove it. And as you can see, it's almost gone. I'm not going to spend all that time doing that now, but just to show you that if you make a tiny little mistake like that, all is not lost. Just carry on. The next colour I'm bringing in is the Old Olive, and with that again I've taken a scrap of the basic white cardstock. I'm going to stamp, oh actually I wanted to stamp that off. Right, so I'm doing a second generation stamp with that as well, and I'm going to do the same with this. I'm using the two smaller ones which I've mounted on the block at the same time, so that saves you time when stamping. They're on the block at the same time. Now I'm just going to cut these out with my Stampin' snips, and when you're doing this, try not to actually cut on the stamped line. I've made that mistake in the past, and if you do that you actually lose the definition of the stamp. Some people actually like to leave a white border around it as well, and that's quite acceptable. It's one of those things that is personal preference. I like to actually cut almost exactly to the line and not leave too much of a white border, but that's just me. You know, whatever you want to do is right for you. Okay, so some people call this fussy cutting. I just call it cutting out, but whatever you call it, yes, it does take a little bit of extra time, but I don't think it's really difficult, and it's not hugely time consuming. And the trick is to turn the card rather than the scissors. So I'm keeping the scissors pretty much still. I'm just closing them very slowly as I turn my card, and then I don't cut anything off that I want to keep. Having said that, yes, it has happened occasionally, but not often. So again, I'm not cutting right on that line, I'm cutting it so that I will still see that line, and it does help with the definition. So I'm almost there. There are times when I actually cut around the whole leaf quite roughly, and then I'm just working with a small piece of card in my hand. Some people find that easier, but do it whichever way is best for you. So I don't know what the weather's like with you. We're actually on the 3rd of May today. I'm probably not actually going to post this until tomorrow, but it's quite chilly here in the UK, very windy, and I was glad to get home after I'd been out for a walk this morning. So yeah, tomorrow being the 4th of May, or if you're watching this on the 4th of May, today is a huge thing for us in the Stampin' Up world, because our brand new annual catalogue goes live. So I hope you managed to see a copy of that, and as I said, I will be doing a walkthrough on my Facebook page if you want to have a look at that. Well, I say a walkthrough, I'm just picking out some of my favourite items in there. And oh wow, there are some fantastic sweets coming out. Gorgeous new products. Yeah, I'm sure everyone is going to have a wish list a mile long. I know mine's growing by the minute. Being a demonstrator, I actually get to see the catalogue, I can't remember exactly when it was. I think we get a copy about a month in advance. So it's very hard to be sitting on that and posting to social media and not being able to show you the inside. I've been able to show the catalogue cover a few times, but oh yeah, it's very hard not to open it and show you what's inside because it's so exciting. I can tell you that there are 5 amazing new in colours, which are, I'll try and remember them now: Polished Pink, Pale Papaya, Evening Evergreen, Fresh Freesia, and the other one is coming any minute now. It is So Succulent. Yeah, all super colours, and I know you're just going to love them. Okay, so I've got a feeling I have lost one of my small leaves. Have I just thrown that in the bin? Okay, we're going to have to go without that leaf because I can't find it. But I am going to use something, so I probably won't need that 4th small leaf. This is one of the trinkets that came with the Rooted in Nature suite last year. Absolutely beautiful suite, which unfortunately has been retired this year, but I still got the trinket, so I'm still going to use that. So if you got them and you've got some left, this is a really good project to use them on. Oh, this has appeared from nowhere. Okay, so let's get back to our card, and I'm going to place these in, let me just quickly look. I took a photograph so that I knew what I was going to do with this. Okay, so I'm going to place the flower here, and I'm going to take off those 2 leaves because I've stamped them in yellow in the bumblebee, but actually I've cut out the ones I've stamped in Old Olive, so I'm going to use those instead. I just whip those off. I completely forgot that when I cut this out. But, you know, us ladies of a certain age, we can't remember everything. Okay, so I'm going to bring back my dimensionals and place a couple on the back of this, like so, and decide which way round I'm going to put this. So, oh, I can't see the picture, that's gone. So I'm going to use one of my leaves like this, just to get a nice little effect here. I think that will be nice. So I'm just going to stick these on flat. And I'm deliberately just leaving this to come off the edge slightly because I think that just gives it a little more of a something something. And just pop the bottom of that one there. The glue I'm using, by the way, is our Tombow multi-purpose adhesive, but for some reason I can't get on using it straight from the bottle. I find it just comes out too fast for me and I get in a bit of a mess. And you really, you know, when you use too much glue, it's not a brilliant idea. Using less glue gives me better results. I find if I put too much glue on, sometimes it leaks out and spoils my project, or it simply warps my cardstock. So yeah, I prefer to use a smaller amount. So I'm just going to pop those like that, and that just offsets the two there. I might just bring that on a little bit more. Yep. So again, I'm just going to use the Tombow on there, and for this other stamped leaf. To adhere the metal trinket, I'm using the Stampin' Up glue dots. These are called mini glue dots, and I'm just going to take it off with my tweezers and pop it on the back of that. It's quite strong, but I am going to use two. In fact, these are incredibly strong. I was amazed when I first started using them. So yeah, that's really stuck fast. It will not come off. They're amazing. So that's that, and then I'm going to just pop my greeting across the top there. You can, if you want to be a little zany, put it at an angle. You could have it actually on here. You could stick it anywhere you like, really. But I actually like mine to be on the actual card itself. I could actually have brought that down a bit. Yeah, it would have been better if I dropped this a bit, but never mind. I'm sure the recipient will like this wherever I'm at it, wherever I pop that. So that's that. My thank you card using the beautiful stamp set Celebrate Sunflowers. All the items I've used today, and indeed all the items in the Stampin' Up catalogues, can be purchased from my shop, my online store, which is elementarypapercrafting.stampinup.net. If you are ordering anything from me, I would encourage you to use my May host code, and if you do that, you will also receive a little extra gift from me. So I hope you've enjoyed my video, and I hope you'll join me again sometime. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.